Welcome to 10 Talks. Today's conversation is all about winning nutrition. We are for you and we are committed to you really understanding what does it take. And today's topic is Nutrition 101. We're going to start with the basics. We're going to get you set up to win. And most importantly, we want you to recognize that nutrition is very personalized. Just like winning in life, winning our nutrition is going to be according to your body, according to your rituals and routines, and most importantly, your desired outcomes. So we have our nutrition coach, and today's conversation is going to be really anchored in getting you set up as an athlete for peak performance. How do you eat every day so that you're winning the day? So Caio, let's hear a bit about how life is going in the nutrition coaching world.
Hi, Carlette. Everything is great. Thank you so much for having me again. And I think this topic of today is really, really relevant. I have an athlete that is from Harvard volleyball right now. She didn't really have her nutrition figured out, and little tweaks. She didn't have much time to speak with me or was too adherent to our program, but little tweaks really served her to be more energetic and to even gain over an inch on her vertical jumping. So for volleyball, that makes a big difference. So if people are watching who wants to increase their vertical jumping or the speed or anything like that and be more athletic, I think they're in the right place.
Well, and we are committed to this challenge of really challenging ourselves as we listen to this conversation, hear winning strategies, hear new thinking, new ideas. Pick one thing, commit to the challenge, and really challenge yourself to that one change. So listen to our conversation with the intention of what is really resonating with me, and what's one thing when I finish listening that I can take and commit to practicing. Because that's really how you're going to determine, is it a 10 for you? And when we say, is it a 10, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 is low, 10 is fabulous. We want you collecting, what's a 10? When you eat, how does it make you feel? When you're rested, how are you feeling? Looking for the foods, the exercise, the people that you're interacting with. How are they interacting with you? Your body, your mind, your heart, and your desired outcomes. So here we go. Let's get coached up on winning nutrition. Nutrition 101. Caio, let's talk about it.
Okay, the talk today is all about macronutrients, which is really the bulk of the foods that we eat, the bigger amounts of nutrients that we put in our bodies. And those are divided in between carbohydrates, fats, and proteins, right? And I think the basics here is to understand that carbohydrates and fats are really the basics that we need to understand for our levels of energy. As athletes, we need to be up with that. We need to be able to understand our levels of energy, what it takes for us, for our sports, and to have peak performance, right? And when it comes to protein, it's really the building blocks of life. That's what protein is known for. So when we spend muscle, when we break down all the muscle mass, we need protein for rebuilding of pretty much all cells in the body. So this is a general explanation of what micronutrients is, but once you start understanding things like this, I think things become much easier and you are able to achieve peak performance easier too.
So we know that a winning strategy is ritual and routine. Really the ability to wake up and to know what to put in my body, what time to put in my body, how much to put in my body, so that my body is working for me when it's time to perform. So take us through a 10-day where we're really winning the day based on being an athlete and having a workout. We wake up, what do we start with, and how do we finish?
Okay, that really is going to depend on my practice schedule, but let's suppose that I have a 2 practice per day type of schedule, okay? And maybe I have a 10 a.m. practice. I'm getting up at 7 a.m. And because I have a gap of 3 hours or a little more than 3 hours, I'm able to eat a little more of a complete meal. I do have some time and I'm able to get some good carbohydrates. And at that time, you still can get some complex carbohydrates. Those have a little more fiber, okay? That takes a little more time to be digested by our body, but they are a great source of energy. And as a complete meal, I should have some source of fats. And I would say athletes, if you want to peak perform, stick to the healthy options on those, such as avocados, some nuts and seeds, maybe some Greek yogurt. And that's okay also to have when you have a little bit of time until practice, not right before practice, as I will explain next. Also, because fats, just like fiber, it will take more times for our body to digest, and we want to avoid gastrointestinal distress when we go into practice, right? So away from practice, you have 3 to 5 hours, you can eat a breakfast that is more complete. And as I said, carbohydrates and fats are important, and also a good portion of protein. So let's say I can have 2 eggs, I could have a few toasts, white bread and toasts. That white bread could also be a good option. It's not a complex carbohydrate. That part is a simple carbohydrate, but it's also good because it will digest easily and I'll get the energy into my muscles, okay? And maybe some avocados. I would say bacon is a little bit heavier on the fats, but can also be an option if you know how to dose it. And I believe that's a pretty good option for a earlier breakfast.
Yeah.
Also, if you feel
Time
like
out
a
real quick on that in terms of that earlier breakfast. Do we
yeah,
have orange juice with it, coffee? Let's talk about what I'm drinking to go with it.
yes, awesome. That's a great opportunity to start hydration as well. Even before breakfast, having some water is important. And with that breakfast, I think fruit juices are important, the least processed possible, of course. So some orange juice is good, some apple juice, and even some water. Some water will be also fine.
What
You have
about
a question?
caffeine?
Caffeine is good. For sports, I would say caffeine 1 hour before practice would be the best time for you to have that extra energy from the caffeine, you know? So I would say 1 hour. I would say for the next meal, right, prior to practice, caffeine would be a better option than for the first breakfast, okay?
So I'm waking up at 7. I have practice at 10. So I have a 3-hour window. So I'm able to have really my complete breakfast. And
Mhm.
then that's going to be, say, 7:30 to 8. I'm having breakfast. Am I going to have some protein or something right before practice?
So right before practice, the priority should be a low dose of carbohydrates. Okay, so and for that, as we spoke before, simple carbohydrates would be the best option because the complex carbohydrates like sweet potato, whole grains, quinoa, brown rice, those will take more time in our digestive system. We don't want to go into practice as we digest food. So simple carbohydrates like white bread, white bagel, white rice, some fruit juices, those should be the best option there. So let's say 1 hour before practice, I want to have half of a toast bagel with some honey. That's a great option. That's a great option right there. And I can use that into a way to get energy quick to my muscles. Okay. Also, another option would be low fat Greek yogurt with some berries, let's say raspberries or blueberries. That's also with some antioxidant. That's also a great option for prior to practice. And remember, just keep that to reduced amounts. Don't make that a huge meal because it might take more time to digest.
And that's when I could have my caffeine, my cup of coffee, or right there in that window, correct?
Yes, that time would be a perfect time to have a complement of the meal being a dose of caffeine, 6 to 8 ounces. I think it's enough. You know, just understand yourself, know how what caffeine can do to your body. Some people might get too jittery, or, you know, some people just feel great and they get the boost of energy. So they should go with it for sure.
So we have our workout. It's a couple of hours. What do we put into us as recovery as soon as we finish our workout?
Then, after the workout is done, the priority would be protein. There are exceptions to this depending on your sports, but because your muscles will require the build up of it, the rebuild of the muscles, you should be getting a dose of protein. I would say in between 20 to 30 grams of protein in a way that could be a protein drink or a protein shake would be good. And what do I mean when I say exceptions? Because sometimes if I'm an endurance athlete and I just pretty much ran a little marathon for 2 hours, I want to have some carbohydrates to start rebuilding my glycogen stores, right, on my muscles. Glycogen meaning energy. So that's how we just store energy into our muscles. So if you're not into endurance sports, if you're into soccer, volleyball, or football, where you're using your muscles to the fullest here and there, what we call intermittent sports, then protein should be your priority for sure.
So I have a protein drink as my recovery. Then I'm going to continue my recovery. I'm going to have, we're talking about 2-a-days here, or double days. So we are talking 2 workouts in a day, which could be a high intensity, but that's what we're going with right now. So we have our protein drink for recovery. Do we eat again before the next workout, or do we wait and eat dinner after workout?
No, absolutely. You have to have another meal. So that protein drink, in my personal opinion, in this industry of sports nutrition, people have many different opinions, but the most, what I've seen, the most common thing to do is for you to, after the first workout, you get a dose of protein, right? And in liquid form will be great because your body will take that in very easily, digest it very easily, and then maybe half an hour or an hour later, that's when you get your lunch, which will be also part of your recovery for your next session.
And what am I having for lunch? I hope it's yummy. So make it good. I've worked out. I'm hungry. I'm tired. I've had some protein, but what am I having for lunch to get set up to really be successful in my afternoon workout?
Okay, let's say your workout will be around 4 p.m. or 5 p.m. So again, you have the gap of time where you can get some more fibers and some more fats into your system. Those will take a little more time to digest, so add that into your meal. So let's say I go to the cafeteria where I get home, I would love to have some whole grains. Remember, complex carbohydrates, they also take a little longer to digest, but they're a great source of energy and very clean energy, okay? So I would get some sweet potatoes, maybe some quinoa or brown rice. In there, I could add some black beans, which are a great source of protein and carbohydrates. I would get some vegetable. I would get some color in my plate as well. So some green veggies, whatever you like, kale, rucola, arugula. So some of those, some beets. So I would make a little mix of vegetables. If I could prepare a salad or get a salad from a bar, I would do that. And having a lean type of protein. So let's say a beef that is leaner, so a little bit of less fats, because the fats that will come with animal protein are the type of fats that could be slightly inflammatory for our bodies, okay? And so the leaner side of proteins would be great. Or let's say chicken breast or a piece of salmon, so we could get that mix in a well-balanced meal for lunch as well.
And what if we're vegetarian?
Vegetarian, a great source of protein would be tofu. Like I said, the legumes, which includes the beans, right? Chickpeas are also a great source of protein. So let's say you already have beans in your plate. Maybe you want to complement with another source of protein like tofu or chickpeas or tempeh, and you can get creative with those. I think there are a lot of soy products out there that could be of good quality. I would look out for if they are organic or not. I would rather have organic soy than not. Okay.
Absolutely. And let's talk quantity, because it's one thing to know what I'm eating is correct, but what about the amount?
So when you have a chicken breast that is 100 grams in weight, that has about 23 grams of protein. And it's pretty much the same for all other sources of protein. None of them will go too high or too lower than that. It's between 20 and 25 grams. So in between 1 and 1.5 chicken breasts, depending on your body size and on your appetite, I think that would be a good portion. And remember, we just had that protein drink right after right after practice. So the need for a lot of protein, let's say 40 or 50 grams, is not that relevant when we come to that complete meal, but also you should be fueling yourself with a variety of foods. So I would say between 20 to 30 grams of protein would be great. Of course, it would depend on your appetite first, right? And what your body needs. Let's say we just had a very strenuous workout. So I know my glycogen stores are very low, so I'm gonna make sure I'll have a little more of carbohydrates. So let's say a cup and a half of carbohydrates instead of the normal thing would be to have a cup of carbohydrates, right? If you see a regular plate. However, depending on your body size, how hard you guys trained, I think that should dictate on you adding a little more of carbohydrates or a little more proteins. And fats would be a great source of energy if you are in low to moderate intensity sports or workouts. So then you would add a little more fats than carbohydrates, because fats will be that very first source of energy for low to moderate workouts and sports.
And what's an example of a fat that would be great to add to really boost my energy before my workout?
Very simple. If you're having a little salad, I think adding some extra virgin olive oil would be great. Using some avocados, throwing some seeds on top of that salad would be a great option as well.
Okay, so we fueled up, we've had lunch, and now we're going to have our workout a couple hours after lunch. And do we need anything before our workout since we just had lunch a couple hours before?
Absolutely. I feel like a lot of people could feel that they're like, oh, I'm fueled. I had a great lunch. It has been enough for me. That could be great. But if you know you're going to a hard workout once again at the end of the day, which I would say from experience in college, we do that going through hell week, the preseason weeks, So if you know you're going through hard workout again, it would be smart for you to again have that simple carbohydrates right before practice once again. So you add up some energy to your glycogen stores and you're able to endure that entire practice. Because if it's a long practice and if it's going to take a lot out of you, you want to avoid just that feeling of fatigue at the end of practice. You want to be performing at your best because that might count for you being started or not, or getting less or more minutes in the court or in the field when season starts.
So is this when I eat my other half of my bagel with honey? So that way I've had one bagel a day, basically. It gives me an opportunity to pack if I'm, at college or wherever I am, really being able to food prep as well and know when to eat it.
Yes, that's a great option. So half of a bagel could be a good option with half of a banana also. Although banana are a complex carbohydrate, fruits are digested a little easier, so it would be a good source of carbohydrates. And just making it simple. If you don't like bagels, use Rice Krispies. Those are great options for a quick source of energy. A handful of fruits, maybe strawberries, or maybe you have a peach or an apple with that source of carbohydrate, like I said, the other half of the bagel or a Rice Krispies. So making it simple and easy on yourselves would be the best way possible.
Would I add caffeine or am I only having caffeine before the morning workout?
Yes, you could, but it's not very advisable to drink caffeine after 2 p.m. just because once you're done with the practice, you want to start recovery mode, right? And having caffeine after 2 p.m. might limit your sleep for you to get into a really deep levels of sleep and having that sleep that is very restorative for your next day. So I would avoid that. If you are limited in energy, if you feel like you are limited in energy, you should actually have some carbohydrate supplements during your workouts. Okay, either if it's in the morning or in the afternoon, make sure you have some carbs in form of liquid that you can be taking with your water during your workouts, and you will keep increasing the levels, not increase, but maintain the levels of glycogen that you're spending, the energy that you're spending throughout practice. And that can be a great substitute if people think that they need caffeine all the time.
Mm. Well, so inside the workout, when I need that carbohydrate, you mentioned drinking it. What else are some options for us?
So some sports bars could be good. However, you just gotta check on the label if it's high in fats, right? Remember, fats will be of slow digestibility. So you want to limit that. You want to have simple carbohydrates. You can have a little bit of protein, no problem,
Mhm.
but you do want to limit fiber and fat right before the workout and during the workout. So as long as you're able to read the label, understand, oh, there's very low fats in here. I can have this. There is good carbohydrates. So like again, you could just have a Rice Krispies with you during practice and just put that in, or a little fruit or something. So those could help too.
So I finished my second workout. First of all, I got to celebrate that. I mean, goodness, making it through 2 workouts, right? You got to celebrate. Things are good. It's the end of the day. It's time for rest and recovery. Do I have another protein drink right after my workout, or do I just wait and go into dinner?
You could have another drink. However, many athletes don't see themselves having 2 protein drinks per day, but some could. Yes.
Mhm.
So maybe you can switch it up and have a little smoothie, 8 ounces of a smoothie with banana, peanut butter, and cacao powder protein. That would be a great option right there. Okay. Or even some berries and vanilla protein powder. You can use that, and some peanut butter as well. So those could be good options. Just that when you're drinking a smoothie, you will feel a little more fueled
Mhm.
to go right into dinner. So you want to leave a little bit of time, but that's a great option to start recovery for sure. And then you want to leave a little bit of time and then go into dinner, so you are with your levels of hunger a little bit higher, to the point where you can again eat a complete meal at dinner.
Is dinner, which one's going to be our biggest meal?
Great question. I think lunch should be the biggest meal there, just because we are in between a session where we spend a lot and we need to refuel for another session. So making sure we are able to eat really well during lunch, and then we're gonna go into a resting period, I think would be the best way to go.
And so I'm going to have a smoothie or not, depending on after I finish my second workout in the evening.
Yeah.
And what am I having for dinner?
So dinner could be a similar meal to lunch. Let's switch it up a little bit, okay? So let's say, I don't know, we are going to a sub restaurant or to a place where they serve subs, right? I can get a whole grain bread. I could have some vegetables in there and a source of protein. Let's say I have arugula and tomatoes and olives, and I want to have some chicken in there. So, and maybe a light sauce on it. What I would say light would be, I wouldn't go with a ranch or anything too heavy, but it is really up the preference of the person. That is a meal that you're not limited to eating low fats or low fibers, so you could go for it. But my personal preference would be with a lighter sauce that would complement that meal well. And then having a drink that is also quite hydrating, I would say, avoiding high sugar drinks like pop or sodas, I guess. And maybe having a juice or complement with water, as we will speak on the next episode. It's important to um, keep intaking the fuels so you don't lose much of the electrolytes and the hydration that you're trying to keep good. So I think that's a good option. And I won't leave out the dessert part of it. Okay.
Well, first of all, before we get to dessert, which of course that was the top of my list, I got to have a little something, something in there. But I was
Yes.
also curious, where's my pasta? Where's my something, just from I mean, it's been a long day. I have really
Yeah.
worked hard. If we're really using food for rest and recovery and also maybe a joy break, maybe it's something that we can look forward to. We can look forward to a great
Mhm.
dinner. What are some of those more interesting meals that I can have that are still getting me set up to win tomorrow?
Absolutely. So instead of having the sub, you could have like a meatball pasta that's going to be really good with a little side salad if you think that's important. I just think that's getting some vegetables in there and fiber are really important for our gut health and for the processes that are going to go in our body as we go to sleep and want to have really good recovery. Okay, so that's a great time to eat high carbohydrates, high protein, and get some salad, some vegetables, some leafy greens. So at nighttime would be a great time for a meal like that. And even I would say I wouldn't call a cheat meal because it's also part of an athlete's life to eat a hamburger or to go to a pizza place. I would just make sure that I'm staying conscious of what I'm having and the amounts of food that I'm having if it's not as nutritious, right? And I will complement with things that are very nutritious. For example, a side salad or like a fruit for dessert or like a fruit juice, for example. So it's just on how you adapt that meal into your day and keeping it nutritious as well.
And where do I put my dessert?
So there are some studies that actually say that having a little amount of dairy products, let's say yogurt with some berries, an hour or two before you go to bed would be a great option for recovery. It really helps your recovery, building muscle and all that. Of course, the dairy product will have some amounts of protein in there. My personal recommendation is that athletes stop eating 2 to 3 hours before they go to bed so that food can be well digested and their body are set to go into full recovery. Okay. So yes, and if not, if people don't want to have that side of dairy product or a yogurt, they can have a cookie, a little amount of ice cream that they like, right after dinner. It's just, again, making sure that you're not exaggerating the amount. I wouldn't have a full pint of ice cream right after dinner when I'm trying to recover for the next day of practice, where I know it's going to take a lot out of me.
Mm. And that 2 to 3 hours before bed is really important just in terms of the timing. And that's why we started this conversation with our sports life coaching tool of ritual and routine, really understanding how to own our day, prepare for our day, and get set up to win it. And so thank you for a great conversation about really just nutrition 101, how to understand the labels, how to understand when and what to eat. And so excited to keep learning. And so team, it's up to you. We're going to pass the ball to you and let you think about what is one thing that you can really change inside your nutrition. And let's have a little tweak, those little changes that make a big impact. Most importantly, for you to be able to be intentional and mindful of how is what you're doing working for you or not working for you. And you can use our stat system for that. When you finish your meal, stat up on a scale of 1 to 10. Do you feel full? Is this giving you the energy that you want when you go to practice? Did that meal work for you? This is your life. It's a chance for you to win it according to what matters to you and what's important and what you need. So we are committed to being on your support team to set you up to be able to have the knowledge and the education. And now it's up to you to practice, practice, practice. Thank you and see you next time.